Welcome to Tabletop Tutorials. Today I'll be showing you how to paint Green Space Marine Armour. The scheme really works well for Raptors, but it can work on pretty much any Space Marine style. We'll be using a Blade Guard veteran to essentially showcase the recipe, but keep in mind you can use this on basic intercessors, for example. To begin with, make sure your model is sprayed in Death Guard green. We want to base the entire armour in Vallejo olive green after this step, just to get a darker tone. To do this, get some paint on your brush and apply a little water to keep your paint smooth, and then make sure you smooth the excess off onto your palette, as we don't want to have a heavy first coat. Then just apply the paint all over the armour. Don't be worried if you get any on non-armour sections. You can just paint over this easily later on in whatever colours you choose to use. And we'll be doing probably two coats over just to make sure it's all smooth and all the same colour. So we should end up with a slightly darker green tone on our armour. As you can see, I've got paint on places I didn't want, but once again we can go over that later. But the main important thing is that we got that darker tone green all over where we need it. Next, we'll be using Death Guard Green to dry brush the armour. If you have never heard of dry brushing, we are essentially getting the paint on our brush and then removing the majority off onto like a tissue or a cloth. It's really important that you take most of the paint off your brush, leaving only a trace remaining. Never use water while dry brushing, this can ruin the effect. But when you are painting, freely brush the whole model lightly, letting the paint naturally catch on the edges and wide panels. Feel free to keep doing this until you feel satisfied with the effect. It's up to you how much Death Guard green you want on the model. We can already see some depth in the colour now, with edges catching the light of the model much better. This effect is going to be improved upon in the next step. Much like the previous step, we're doing another dry brush. This time we follow the same process, but we try to get even more paint off our brush, leaving even less to apply to the model. We want less paint to catch on the model, only hitting the sharper features of the armour. This should give some more variety in the actual colour and lighting of the model. We can see that the green highlights are slightly brighter in some of the places now, most notably the sort of edges, allowing for an even more varied armour style. The effect will be easier to see when working on it yourself. Our final dry brush is Ogryn Camo. Following the same pattern as before, we want an extremely small amount of paint on our brush to only catch the most extreme edges of the armour. Ogryn Camo is a lot brighter than our other paints and will have the most impact on the final result. Remember, you can apply more later if required, so apply this sparingly. Next is an optional step, using Athonian Camoshade to blend the colours, if you want to take the design one step further. It is important to avoid water and only use a slight amount of camo shade over the armour. Water can cause a glossy effect, which we want to avoid here. Once the camo shade is dried, you will have finished the green armour recipe. This design is intended to be easy to complete and take very little time with as few steps as possible. Overall, painting this model has taken me around 10 minutes to complete the effect, and is useful for badge painting. You can use different colours if you're looking to do a different colour scheme. The important note is to keep in mind that you want to grade your dry brushes up in colour brightness to replicate the effect on, say, like red armour or blue armour.